Hi, everyone. Welcome to our presentation. I am Jessie Smith,
And I'm Nassim Somboli.
and today we are presenting our paper, Fairness and Transparency in Recommendation, the User's Perspective. We authored this paper with Florencia Cabral-Barenfis, Robin Burke, and Casey Fiesler, based out of the University of Colorado Boulder. And we'll begin by sharing the motivation for this work. So in a personalized recommender system, the objective of the recommendation algorithm is to accurately represent users' interests, meaning that the objective of the algorithm is generally accuracy. However, recently there have been efforts to introduce new objectives for recommendation, one of which is a fairness constraint. So when a recommender uses fairness as an objective, we call this a fairness-aware recommender system. Fairness can be measured and optimized for in many different ways in recommendation, which can also make it difficult to ensure equally fair outcomes for all of the stakeholders of a recommender system. For example, in the case of a platform like Spotify, in order to be more fair to underrepresented musicians, a fairness-aware algorithm might recommend more diverse content to their listeners. However, how do these listeners know that their recommendations have changed due to these fairness considerations? In this work, we explored what it might look like for a fairness-aware platform to be more transparent about their fairness objectives. Basically, how do we explain through a platform to users that their recommendations aren't purely personalized, but are also altered based off of fairness considerations? To answer this question, we asked the users themselves. For this qualitative study, we conducted 30 one-hour exploratory semi-structured interviews with people from both computer science and non-computer science backgrounds who all had interacted with recommender systems in some way. We started by asking the participants about their folk theories of recommender systems, which is another way of saying we asked the participants how they think recommender systems work. And after explaining what fairness constraints and fairness-aware recommendation was to the participants, we introduced them to a thought experiment where we had them pretend to be users of a fairness-aware recommendation platform. We presented them with examples of possible explanations that could go on the platform to try to explain these fairness goals to the users, similarly to the one shown on the screen right now. And then we received their feedback. In the following sections, we'll explain some of our biggest findings from this work and what the participants expressed as their needs when it comes to explanation and transparency design in a fairness-aware recommender system.
Through the folk theories, we understood that some users have a good understanding of a recommender system, while others understanding as a box system. Many of our participants stated that they have never thought of provider fairness, but after a short discussion on the topic of bias in these systems, they showed their concern about fairness in recommender systems. But they still didn't understand how provider fairness objective might affect their recommendations. All of these issues are indicative of a lack of communication between the system and the participants, and it raises the need for explanation. Based on our interviews, we learned that users require the systems to explain the fairness goal to them in some way. Overall, users express that when a recommender system is fairness aware, they want to be informed about how fairness constraints change their recommendation list and why this change is occurring. This is what led us to pursue explanations as a means to educate users about these things. Participants also showed concerns of being nudged to make a decision by recommender systems. Therefore, transparency through explanation should give them greater agency to avoid unintentional manipulation by a fairness aware system. Based off of the feedback we received from our participants, we discovered three important features that should be included in effective explanation designed for fairness aware systems. First, explanations should define the system's fairness objective for users. This was based off of the majority of our participants indicating that if a recommender system uses fairness as an objective rather than just accuracy, they would like to be aware of this. Second, explanations should not nudge or manipulate users into making a decision, even if the goal is fairness. This was based off of many participants expressing fear that organizations can choose any fairness metric to optimize for, and what is fair to some people might be considered unfair to others. Finally, explanations should disclose the motivation for using fairness as a system objective. This is in line with our goal to use explanation to educate users so that they understand what the fairness goals are of the organization that is hosting the recommender system and why this organization prioritizes these goals. Overall, these features help users to gain a basic understanding of fairness-aware recommender systems and also to help improve their trust in recommender systems as a whole. Thank you for listening, and please let us know of your questions and suggestions to improve our work.